Hello, Seka.
Okay, what?
I knew I'd win. Who's the best character to crown in Genshin Impact?
The one you like the best.
That's not what I'm asking.
What are you asking?
I mean, who's the best?
You just said the same thing twice. Are you trying to ask like what's the most efficient thing to crown for like team compositions and like the things that you would use the most and the crowns you get the most value out of?
Yes.
Then why didn't you say that? Because he manipulated you to get you to say it, you dummy! Did you do that?
Of course I did. Idiot.
Over a long period of time, we has been playing Genshin Impact, and these two guys have been arguing the entire time. I mean, seriously, just kiss already. But anyways, there are a lot of people that have asked me, what character should I crown and who is worth crowning in Genshin Impact for the maximum value in Genshin Impact? And what I wanted to make a video on today were the most used characters that players use on all of their teams. And we're going to be talking about DPS characters and most used characters interchangeably to figure out what characters are worth crowning and which bring the most value out of characters. So if you're stupid like me, what you do all the time is you crown your waifu, and you do it like multiple times just for no reason whatsoever. And you're like, yeah, fuck it. Yeah, she's my waifu. I don't give a fuck. I'm in. All right. So that's what I do. And I know it's dumb, but I do it anyways because, just reasons. I do want to tell you guys that there are characters that, without reasons and other reasons you should crown certain characters is because they're actually really good to crown because you use them on so many teams. Now, if you look at your character box and a lot of different characters, you could have a million of these characters max, whatever it may be, but there are tons of characters that you use on very large amounts of your teams. And if you do use them on a large amount of your teams, then they are the characters you want to crown. The number one most used character in Genshin Impact, of course, is the Benny Boy. So Benny Boy, if you wanted to know, is awesome. And recently, on my free-to-play account, which I'm not on right now, I ended up getting... you know what? I'll just switch over my free-to-play account.
Hello, Seka.
I ended up getting a bunch of characters, and I ended up getting Jean. And because I got Jean on my free-to-play account, I was able to level her up and start using her. And I was like, yeah, that's awesome. But what I ended up doing, because I ended up getting Jean, and the shop changed this month, is I ended up switching my Blacklift Longsword over to my Kaya. And then I ended up actually switching, which was really funny, my Aquila Favonia over to Bennett for a little bit. And after using Aquila Favonia on Bennett, the major difference between this weapon and the Festering Desire is 164 base attack, which is a significant amount when you're actually doing an attack bump. So because the attack transfers another 164 attack, it's like getting another constellation on Bennett for like C5 Bennett or whatnot, or the C1 Bennett buff. It's a pretty significant bump, and all the other stuff that you have gets bumped from that as well. So I ended up seeing a pretty sizable damage increase because the base attack went up by so much by switching a weapon. And because I ended up switching a weapon, and it's very similar if you wanted to go for constellations and all that stuff for talents and everything, the talent bump that you get for crowning Bennett is only 6% of Bennett's attack. If that's the case, and it's only 6% of Bennett's attack, is the crown worth it? And I'm gonna say if you have an Aquila Favonia on your Bennett, that boosts your base attack to 865 at level 90, which is only an extra 51.9 attack that you're gonna be transferring over to another character. So is it worth to crown the Bennett ulti? Well, for this reason specifically, no, it is not worth doing. However, for me, it's kind of worth, because the way I build all my Bennetts is not the traditional build that a lot of you go with a 4-piece Noblesse. I end up going with a 4-piece Crimson Witch set. And the reason I go with a 4-piece Crimson Witch set is because of the way the 4-piece set bonus works. A lot of people, when they think about using the 4-piece Witch set bonus, they think about using a character like Diluc. Well, the thing is, Bennett is a character that's very similar to Luke on the E ability, where the cooldown of the E ability is actually a very, very short cooldown. It says there's only 5 seconds here, but you have abilities that reduce cooldown, have cooldown shortened by 50% here, and Passion Overload by 20% on the passives, giving Bennett a very short cooldown on his E ability. And because he has a super short cooldown on the E ability, you're able to just constantly drop E's on enemies, which gives you the maximum stacks of Crimson Witch, which gives you the maximum possible damage, which means that Bennett is actually, instead of just the 15% pyro damage bonus, getting the full effect from the 4-piece bonus, which is a total of 37.5% pyro damage from the 4-set piece bonus total, including the 2-set bonus, and getting the 15% melt damage increase. So it is a huge value for a character like Bennett getting the Mad Lad damage in, especially if you wanted to get big melt procs. Yesterday, when we were doing the new event, I ended up on my main account, I was able to get over a 200,000 crit. I think it was like 220,000 crit on my Bennett ultimate, and it was pretty fun. I was actually carrying people with Bennett. So yes, Bennett can be a DPS, and Aquila Favonia is his hardest hitting weapon. It's definitely not his best weapon for like overall best for DPS and everything, but it's definitely his hardest hitting weapon as far as biggest nuke weapon that you can potentially have. Plus, this is able to, with this type of build for Bennett, I am able to 36 star the new Abyss, so there is no issue with that on a completely free to play account, so you shouldn't have any issues with these kinds of builds with Bennett. But I digress on the Bennett stuff. I just wanted to talk about him because a lot of people will have questions on Bennett. And my recommendation is, if you are looking to crown Bennett, my answer is no. I actually haven't done it specifically. Even if it's a DPS Bennett, I'm still not doing it because there are other characters I want to crown. And the only thing I get out of that is a small damage bump here. But the 20% or so damage increase that I would get from skill damage here is really not worth it to me, and the minor heal improvement also not worth it, so I'm gonna cap at 9. However, the character I think is really worth doing is Xingqiu. Now, Xingqiu is one of the best characters in the entire game to crown, and the reason he is so good to crown is because he does so much flipping damage. Xingqiu on my whale account, now we're switching accounts again, is crowned. And I have crowned him. He is phenomenal. I ended up crowning the Q a while back, about a month or two ago, and I have no regrets. Today, actually, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to go ahead and crown this, and we're going to be doing a double crown Xingqiu showcase and try that out. And I will say that after having this crown for a while, I have no regrets. I am definitely going to be crowning Xingqiu. He is the best character in the game to crown. And the reason he's the best character in the game to crown is because he's so valuable on so many teams. When you level up his E ability, you don't get any extra value out of the E ability except for more damage. But the thing is, the amount of damage that you get on the E ability, especially when you're using a weapon like the Sacrificial Sword, is exceptional. The overall damage that you have from this E ability that can vaporize on 1 or 2 hits is over almost 700% at level 11 talents, and that's with constellations and such. And if you are using other abilities, you can boost this even further. You can even use constellations to boost this up in different ways for Constellation 4, and the crown talent on this will go up so high, the damage is exceptional. And I think this is the #1 character in the game to crown because you use him on so many different teams. For example, Xingqiu is a filler for pretty much every single pyro comp. He's also a staple for every single freeze composition that you can create in the game, unless you're going to be using, say, Ganyu and wanted to use a Mona with it instead. But still, he's a staple for any team that uses normal attacks in freeze compositions because you can get this huge value out of him by getting the freeze off. You can also get a huge value out of him with a Zhao team composition, and Zhao can utilize the character when you plunge on Zhao and use a normal attack afterward to get that in. For big Pyro to Luke players, you've known this since the launch of the game where you use autos with the Luke and of course Vaporize with Xingqiu. It's a huge value add to your overall composition. It can be used with Klee, Hu Tao, pretty much Zhang Ling. 5-star in the game, and even Yanfei can utilize Xingqiu, and there's no issues with Xingqiu. Physical builds can also use Xingqiu, which is really surprising. I ended up doing a huge physical build with Fischl, and actually, by using Fischl with Xingqiu, and using another character with Xingqiu like Beidou, I can actually use an electro-charged physical team, and if I wanted to, I can take out Beidou and throw in maybe a Rosaria or a Ganyu, and actually have like a superconduct in there or whatever I'd like, and it ends up doing a large amount of damage with also a large amount of utility. So because Xingqiu is such a staple in so many team compositions, he is the #1 unit to crown in Genshin Impact. And we're doing a double crown showcase on the next video, so make sure you check out the next video so we'll check out why he's the best character to crown. After that character is after Xingqiu, the next best character in the game I would recommend crowning is your primary character, or the characters that you want to use for your main DPS characters, like whatever it may be. Maybe it's Hu Tao, Mona, Diluc, not really Venti, don't do Venti. Child, Keqing, whatever you would like at that point. Those characters, main DPS characters, your squeeze, whatever it may be, make sure you get those characters done. But the #1 character to crown in Genshin Impact is definitely going to be Xingqiu. Now, the other thing is, a lot of people have asked me, is Zhongli worth crowning? And I usually answer no. This is not a character you need to crown nor want to crown. And the reason I think this is not a good crowning character, unless you're using him as your main physical damage character and he's just out all the time and you just want to use primarily Zhongli and he's your main squeeze, then that's a good reason to do it. But if you're using him as a sub DPS, the answer is a definite no, because the actual value of what you get out of Zhongli when you crown an E ability is almost nothing for the shield value increase, and if you crown the ulti, the actual damage increase is really sizable, but it doesn't actually provide any extra value, and besides you seeing a bigger number. So you don't get anything out of it, and the Mora cost, the resource cost, the resin cost, all the things you have to do to crown this character don't really make up for the very minor amount of overall DPS increase you get from crowning Zhongli. However, like, if you compare it to a character like Albedo and Xingqiu, the amount of damage that you get out of a crown is pretty significant when you consider the overall damage that you're doing in your team's rotations for characters that are going to be in so many different team compositions that end up doing primary amounts of damage. The thing with Zhongli is that getting your ultimate up every 12 seconds is definitely possible and doable in team compositions, and the only reason I would even consider doing this is if, and this is if, I stress this, if you end up having Constellation to Zhongli. And the reason that's the case is because Constellation to Zhongli makes it so when every 12 seconds, you actually don't have to use your E ability, you can just ultimate. And if you just ultimate and then switch off of Zhongli immediately afterward and just drop a pillar wherever you want to, this is a great resource for you to get the ultimate up consistently. But for a huge amount of players, which is most of the players in the game, this is not worth doing. All right, guys. Well, let me know what you guys think about my take on Xingqiu being the best character in the game to crown. I don't have any regrets after crowning the Q. I think I would have rather crowned the E instead first, but the amount I use him and the amount of damage I get out of Xingqiu on every single team that I use him on is phenomenal. So let me know what you guys think about crowns and what you would use your crowns on in the comment section down below. Have a great day, guys. Like, subscribe, all the fun stuff. Bye.